In this video, I'm going to show you how to sync up your DFAM with the Mother 32 and the Subharmonicon. These methods can also be used to sync the DFAM up to other modules or Eurorack systems. So the first thing you're going to want to do is decide which of these is going to be your main clock source. And it doesn't really matter, so I'm going to show you all three. The first one, the one that I typically use, is the Mother 32. So I go from the Mother 32's assign out to the advanced clock in the DFAM. So right now, the Mother is synced up with the DFAM. And all we have to do now is send a signal out from the DFAM to the Subharmonicon. So I'm going to come out of the trigger and into the clock of the Subharmonicon. Now things should be synced up. You could also go from the assign into the mult, which basically sends a signal in two different directions, and send one out to the Subharmonicon and then one out to the DFAM. I typically don't like to use this because I like to use that multiple a lot for other things, and that takes it up. But I might use this if I wanted to run out the trigger out of the DFAM and into some other type of system or something. It's good to know that that's at least an option. For using the DFAM as our master clock, we do have to use that mult. So what we would do is come out of the trigger, go into the mult, and then use that one to come out to the Subharmonicon, and the other mult would go into the tempo of the Mother. The only problem with this setup is that the run stop of the Mother is not patched. This is how it's laid out in the manual, but that is one issue with it. So for instance, if you set this to step 8 and get it ready to go, when I push this, the Mother won't kick on, but the Subharmonicon will. Now you can try to time it right, and it will still be synced up clockwise, but unless you can run another signal and split this somehow and go into the run stop, it won't start at the same time. So one way you could work around it is by using a stackable plug like this one. And what you'd have to do is stack these plugs, plug it into the trigger, and plug that into the run stop. So now when this trigger sends out a signal, it's going to go into the run stop as well as the tempo and the clock of the Subharmonicon. So I'm going to set this to step 8. We'll reset this, and now everything's synced up. In general, I find that this is just more cumbersome when you could easily just go out of the Mother into the DFAM and the Subharmonicon. And lastly, if you wanted to use your Subharmonicon as the master clock, we could go out of the clock. We'd still have to use up that mult. Send one of the mults to the advanced clock of the DFAM, and we run into the same issue where we come out of this mult and into the tempo, and the Mother wouldn't sync up. So here, let's try this. We could run the stackable cable into the run stop, and then when we hit the play button, it should be all synced up. And that is how you sync your DFAM up with your Mother 32 and your Subharmonicon. Personally, I think it's best to just sync it up with the Mother 32. That way you don't have to use your multiple, and it's just, in my mind, much easier to run from the Mother 32 into the DFAM and send the trigger out of the DFAM into the Subharmonicon. In the next video, I'm going to walk through how I like to build patches from scratch.